Welcome to As The Pokéball Turns, where every trainer has a story. I'm David Hernandez.
I'm joined by a fellow sports guru who also agrees that Popovich is the best NBA coach of all time, MJGettit. MJ, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. And yep, Popovich is the greatest coach of all time. I don't care what people are saying about him right now. I don't care what people think about the Spurs right now, because I don't even know if they're tanking. And if we happen to get the first round pick again and we Tim Duncan this whole thing all over again, I'm perfectly fine with that.
I'd love to talk more NBA with you, but unfortunately, I'm a Pokemon GO podcast, so we'll say that for another podcast for another day. Obviously, you're an FSPN writer and you've covered factions, but before that, you had to start in Pokemon GO somewhere. So I got to ask, when did you first start playing Pokemon GO?
Ooh, I'd say the first day, June 5th, June 6th, 2016. That was the very first time I picked up Pokemon Go. I played it for like 2.5, 3 weeks, put it down for 2 months, and then came back to it because I got bored and then just kind of stuck with it ever since then. I remember when raids first came out, that's what really brought back into my interest of Pokemon Go to play that. Then that got stale, then PvP came around, and I was like, oh, this is just nothing but tap, tap, tap. I don't need to like really worry about it. And then here in Dayton, Ohio, we had a community that did Pokemon Go PvP battles with Silph. I remember seeing the champion won the tournament for nothing. I was like, oh, all I gotta do is just win 4 battles? I can do that. So hopped in, got destroyed by the champion my first tournament, and then came back the next month like, no, I got to beat you just to make sure I'm actually good enough for it. Ended up playing him twice that month and beat him both times. So it was like, oh, okay, well, I'll stick with this. It's pretty fun.
Was the PvP more because you were just competitive and you want to beat him, or did you actually start getting more interested in PvP by playing it?
It was both a competitive thing and also just kind of me hoping I didn't miss out on the next big Pokemon thing. Because growing up, I loved Pokemon, but my parents, they were they were against it. So it was like I would miss out on VGC back when it first started and like Nugget Bridge. I think it was about around Gen 6, so 2014, 2015, I started like really trying to get into it, but I was so far behind. I was like, you know what? Let me just stick to small gun ladder. Then saw PvP popped up. I was like, look, I'm not going to miss this train again. I didn't really take Pokken seriously, and I really didn't feel like doing a trading card game. So I was like, all right, let me just try this PvP thing out, see how good I actually am. But yeah, so I just stuck with PvP since then, and that's one of the main reasons why I still play Pokemon Go.
What about VGC? Do you feel like it's too late? Is it just too much of a learning curve for you to get to, or?
Not so much a learning curve, just kind of time and effort. I know now, Gen 9, they've made it so much easier to just hop into VGC, like the mints that you got to get to change your Pokemon's natures, all the items you get, they're like readily accessible at the start of the game now. But like back then, Gen 4 was a slog. I remember just trying to EV train Palkia and going space off like against 60 different Golducks to get the special attack EV yields with the power lens on. And that took forever. And it didn't help that Gen 4 games were notoriously slow. Just never really got around to VGC, didn't really have time to travel, didn't have the money to travel. And I also felt like I didn't have my parents' support if I wanted to travel to some of these Pokemon tournaments.
What is it about Pokemon that your parents were against?
Oh, you know how it was when it first came out. Christians were like, it's the devil. And I was like, it's not the devil. And then I take my mom to the first Pokemon movie and Mewtwo goes and creates all these clones and kills Ash. So it's like, oh, yeah, this kind of hurts my argument as a 7, 8-year-old boy trying to convince my parents, like, hey, it's not all that bad. And they're like, well, it has a control on you. You never want to put it down. I'm like, but this is how I'm learning how to read and do my math properly. Like, you know, like what second grader can actually effectively tell you the synonym for enemy is foe? Pokemon's doing some good here. They weren't having it. It was like, okay, so I can't convince you about this. Now that I've grown up, my mom, she does try to ask about it, but I do get asked like by my friends, like if I ever had to go to a world championship for anything Pokemon related, would I take my parents? And the good son in me wants to say yeah. The person that grew up with them was like, no, because they're not going to understand anything. They're going to have a little bit of a funk, maybe. Like my dad, I might take just because if I get into some stuff, I know he got my back a little bit and we'll know the laws just enough to stay out of jail. But like, nah, it's growing up just deep into the Christian part. And then as they got older and realized like I was actually still playing it, I think they kind of softened their stance. But every now and then I can just see it's like, they're not too happy about that.
With your experience with Pokemon, do you have a favorite Pokemon at all?
Swampert.
Oh, wow. You answered that pretty quick.
Oh yeah, Swampert. Like Gen 1 was red, blue, and yellow. I liked Graveler and Golem. I liked Zapdos. And then I want to say Articuno at one point was one of my favorites. But like those Pokemon didn't have that much of attachment to. Then Gen 2 came along. And I was like, I really love Ampharos because it made the game so much easier that I was so upset that when I got Pokemon Crystal, Ampharos couldn't be in the game. So I was like, nope, let me go find one of my friends. I need a Mareep so I can have Ampharos in this game. I'm not playing a Gen 2 game without Ampharos. So then Gen 3 came along, and Ruby and Sapphire, to me, they're one of my least favorite games in the series. But I love it so much just because of how well Swampert runs through everything. Roxanne, Brawly, Flannery, and Watson kind of struggle with Norman, but 2 Slackings, of course you're going to struggle. Winona puts up a little bit of a fight, and then after that, Swampert just off to the races, running through everything. Like by the time I get done with the game, my Swampert's the highest level Pokemon, and I'm kind of having to catch myself like, oh, Swampert's at level 70, and my next highest Pokemon is Swellow at 62. I'm not used to doing that, which must mean I really love this Pokemon. And then I went on in the post games for both Ruby and Emerald, running up some Battle Tower streaks and doing well on the Battle Frontier with it and Skarmory. Yeah, the Swampert Skarmory core was popular before PvP. Look, it just happened to translate well into PvP. So since then, Swampert's been like my favorite. Although Tinkaton is really making a run for that spot right now.
Oh my god, yeah, that's such a good Pokemon.
In this house, we stand Tinkaton. On Twitter, we stand Tinkaton. I don't care what the VGC players say about how it can't really beat Corviknight. We love the fact that Tinkatink just has little mallet and looks cute. We love the fact that Tinkatuff makes its mallet out of B-Sharp and Pawniard shards, and then Tinkaton just goes and hunts Corviknight, like a Steel Fairy type that's not Mawile that hunts all the big bad Steel types. What's not to like?
Exactly, and it has a big giant hammer to boot.
Right. Fuck it, we Gigaton Hammer over here.
I have that on my team, and when I first saw it, I didn't think too much of it because I caught the middle evolution. I didn't see Tinkating at first, but I caught the middle evolution, and I loved that one. Then it evolved like, oh my gosh, this is such the best Pokemon ever.
I feel like with Tinkaton, it's like I can get where some people might balk against this, but I feel like it's one of the best Pokemon to come out since probably Volcarona.
Well, so obviously you said you're from Dayton, Ohio, right? What was it like to play Pokemon Go over there? Like, where do people go for community day or for raids?
Riverscape. So like downtown, we have like a river that flows through downtown. In, I want to say 1913, there was this great flood that happened in Dayton, Ohio, to the point where like the entire city was underwater. So like they built a dam, and I want to say around 2000, 2003, one of those 2 years, they made this park downtown where you can just walk and ride your bike and also be by the water. And it's high enough to where even if the water was to rise up again, it would never like flood the park. There's a park behind the library that you can play in. Nobody really does unless it's a good community day. For me personally, I do downtown just because there's a lot of stops. Rare spawns seem to always pop up in 2 specific locations. And there are 2 spots downtown where if I just stand still, I can get like 6 kilometers without doing anything. So if I'm like 4 kilometers short of my adventure sync, just go to this one spot, stay there 5 or 6 minutes, and let the GPS take me everywhere, and I'll get it that easily. For raid hour, we just like go to either Riverscape, Deeds Park, start there and do all those as quickly as we possibly can. And then like there's another part of town, like in Kettering, this place called Delco Park that everybody also likes to go to because it's a big enough park to where you can hit all the stops and catch all Pokemon while you're doing the raids. Prior to COVID, we did have like a raid train going in 2017, and the guy who used to run it, he would start off at like, I want to say 7 o'clock in the morning. He would just go until 1 or 2 p.m. and was like, hey, we're starting here at Delco Park. We're going to be traveling on this side of town, this side of town. If a bunch happening downtown, we'll go there, but we're mostly staying on the east side of town of like Kettering, Oakwood, maybe a little bit of the edge of Beaver Creek, which thankfully we didn't do too much of. And he'd be like, if you see something, call it out. If you miss a raid, just meet us at the next one. And he would have like a guy who had a map that would let you know where all the raids are. So like for 2.5 years, he was the leader of it. We had some people take over for him when he couldn't do it, but then he had to move to like take care of his mom and kind of died off because nobody else could like keep up the pace that he did. And then we'd have newer players come in and try to dictate how things were supposed to be, to where it was like, oh, okay, so you can do it how you want to do it. We're going to keep doing it this way. So it died off for a time being there. It's starting to come back now, but it's not like anything what it used to be back in 2017, 2018 at its peak, especially since some of the legendaries aren't really worth going after for a PvP or PvE type of thing.
Especially for y'all, I imagine wintertime gets kind of cold up there.
Woo! Okay, so let me tell you about the weather we're about to have.
Please tell me, because I'm from Texas, so I really am foreign to this idea.
I'm going to say this with a lot of disdain towards you now. I think the high is going to be all of 2 degrees with a wind chill of -12. So I'm prepping. I'll go to work, but we're not doing anything. I'm not moving. I'm staying still. I'm trying to conserve all the heat I possibly have in my body.
Well, I was actually going to be surprised because I was going to expect you to tell me like you're going to go out and play Pokemon Go in shorts and a shirt.
Look, teenage me, when I was actually really active in sports and was like young and dumb, yeah, I'd have did that. Even early 20s me, when I was at the height of like peak anger MJ and defiant MJ, might have did that. 30-year-old with like swollen ankles, still recovering from like sinus infections and intestine infections from the past couple of weeks. Nah, I'm gonna stay in my house, probably go out to spend one Pokestop. If the roads are slick enough, might go for a little bit of a joyride, see if I can still make a ice donut and then come back home.
So if it makes you feel better, the one time we actually got negatives here, we got -0.
That doesn't make me feel better.
It does, because our thermostats were so confused on how cold it got over here in Texas.
Oh, wow. -0. We get 0 at least 7 times during the winter. The cold is actually better if there's snow. If there's no snow and it's just cold and the wind's blowing, and then, of course, downtown next to that river, that makes it even worse.
So let's keep moving before we become the weather channel. Obviously, you got interested in PvP. So tell me about how you first got involved. I know you were trying to beat the champion, but was it like through the Silph Road or was it through GPL?
It was through Silph. My first full season of Silph, the only cup I missed was Boulder. I hopped in during Twilight. I ran Toxicroak, Azumarill, and I want to say Venomoth was on my team before Venomoth got good. But then I came in with Clefable. And if you don't know, Clefable in February of 2019 did not have Charm. So it had Zen Headbutt and Charge Beam. Yep. And me thinking not Pokemon GO PvP ideas, I'm thinking like regular Pokemon type matchups. I'm thinking, oh, okay, Zen Headbutt in a meta full of poisons, that should do well against like the Toxicroak. That should do well against Venusaur. Nope, It got destroyed. I went 2-2. Every time I brought it, I was like, you know what? Let me just stick to Toxicroak, Venomoth, Azumarill, and Skunk Tank over here. They'll carry me throughout the rest of this tournament. At the end of the tournament, I looked at the champion because he really destroyed me. And I was like, all right, I'm going to get better. And then the next month, I'm going to beat you. And he was like, okay, I look forward to it. Because at that point, he was 8-0.
Oh, wow. He's undefeated.
Yeah, he's running through everybody. Like, nobody's really putting up a challenge. I'm like, okay, I'm going to change that. The competitive fire in me just kind of lit right there. I was like, yeah, okay, so I can do this. Tempest comes around, and I kind of have an affinity for Steelix. So, like, I came with the Steelix. Tropius, I found somebody with the Tropius, traded for that. It's not a good Tropius, so glad that GoFest gave me some good ones now. Anyway, it was the 3rd round in Fairborn, and I got matched up with him again. Now, at this point, I'm 2-0 in the Fairborn tournament. He's 2-0. We get matched up, and the Fairborn people know how good he is, too. So I win the first game, and I'm feeling real good. He comes back the second game and just takes all the confidence out of me. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I did well enough to win game 1. I got to do well enough to win game 3. And I'm looking at his team, and I'm like, he done revealed on his lantern that he had Spark at the time. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to go with Steelix. And if I call the Hydro Pump before he hits it, I win this battle. I think I still have the battle on my phone, too. I held on to that. Just kind of remind me like how good I can be so that like later on down the road when other things happen, I was like, yeah, no, knew I could do this. So like my Steelix catches everything his lantern throws. It farms down his own Altaria. And then I think my Altaria comes in and finishes off his Skarmory. So I win that and then beat the next guy. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm won a tournament. So like Dayton's was the next week. And I was like, okay, well, why not go for a perfect month? Swept that. Like, yay, I'm good. Found out Cincinnati was starting to have some tournaments too. So I was like, okay, Kingdom, I'll go down there and try to do well. Again, got tore up down there. So like, okay, I got to keep going to Cincinnati until I actually win a tournament. I think the first tournament I won in Cincinnati was Jungle. Yeah, Jungle was the first one I won in Cincinnati. So then at that point, I was like, okay, you know what? I've won in Fairborn, I've won in Dayton, I've won in Cincinnati. Let's try to go around the state if I can to see where all I can win. So my next goal was Columbus, and I knew right there, like, okay, this is going to take a long time before I win anything in Columbus.
They were just on a different level.
Oh my God, were they ever. I was used to battling like some tough competition, but like Columbus had their own people, had the Fitzy family getting into it. So it's like we kind of all started getting good together at the same time. Speedy actually started the whole All Ohio server so that like everybody who was good in PvP and loved PvP in Ohio, we all would get together and do tournaments. But yeah, I would say like that's when I started PvP. I've won a Silph regional championship in 2020. And I actually, to this day, I still can't believe that I won any Pokemon tournament, any like high-level Pokemon tournament with
Why is that?
Meganium. No. I can believe that I won. It's just I can't believe that I won with Meganium. In Pokemon GO, PvP specifically, it's the only area in all the Pokemon franchise where Meganium is somewhat good. Everywhere else, it sucks.
Unfortunately.
So this happens, and it just so happens that the last game of that 2020 Southwest Ohio Regional Championships, I led Alolan Marowak into a Hypno, got both the shields, called the bait wrong, so I had to switch out into my Meganium onto that Hypno to catch a Shadow Ball. And as it's happening, I'm just sitting here watching Meganium take out the Registeel, take out Hypno, and then the last Pokemon my opponent had was a Azumarill, and almost take that thing out. And I'm just sitting here the entire way like, I am winning a championship in Pokemon with Meganium. Nobody who grew up with me in Pokemon, nobody who I know growing up in Pokemon will believe that Meganium is the reason why I won a championship. So I posted on Facebook. I'm like, hey, I'm regional champion. It's 2020. Like everybody's locked in, so everybody's seen it. A couple of my friends watched the video that also play Pokemon. They're looking at me like, wait a minute, you won with Meganium? Like, yeah, it worked. It's like, okay, I can understand you winning with Lapras. Lapras was good. I can understand Alolan Marowak, even though it doesn't have Thick Club in Pokemon GO. Everybody was fine with the Azumarill and Toxicroak. It was just Meganium was the joke. We're laughing. I won with it. Like, it dominated game 3. It's like the only time I ever put on my cape for Meganium.
Well, it's also like the forgotten stepchild from the Johto starters, because everybody loves Typhlosion. Everybody loves Feraligatr because of Totodile from the anime series. Meganium, hardly anybody liked.
That's because Meganium sucked.
Oh, you're hurting my heart. But yes, you're right, unfortunately.
Oh my God, please tell me I'm not on another podcast where somebody likes Meganium as a starter.
Do you want the honest truth or creative lie?
Give me the honest truth.
Yes, Meganium's actually my favorite from Johto. From the Johto for the starters. It's not my favorite starter of all time. Out of the 3, that was my favorite. That's the one I always chose whenever I played Pokemon Gold.
Okay, so let's break this down here now. So we got, before we even get to Faulkner, we got the Sprout Tower with the poison types running around.
Bellsprouts, yep, and Ghastly.
We got Faulkner with Pidgey and Pidgeotto. We got Bugsy with Scyther and the Poison Sting Kakuna. We got Whitney, who's a problem for everybody. So
No, Whitney is actually easier if you started with Chikorita. Could actually take the hits.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, I did struggle with Morty, though.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We're going to hop back on this. Morty gets run through. Chuck, it can serve some purpose there just because Poliwrath is part water. Then you have Jasmine with steel types, which kind of offset because the electric and grounds don't really do too well against the grasses, but Meganium's attacks are so piss poor that it makes Magnemite's defenses look good. Okay, you get Price. At that point in time, he's not even a real gym leader. Then you got the whole middle game of Johto, where you're facing nothing but Houndours and Golbats and Weezings and Arbok, all the Team Rocket stuff. Then to cap all that off, you got Claire and her Dragonairs and Kingdra. Like, just Meganium, no. Like, look, Gold, Silver, Crystal, I was Typhlosion, but I could also play with Feraligatr just because I want to use Dragon Dance on a water type that wasn't Gyarados. But to this day, just not Meganium. Competitively, no. Playthrough-wise, no. Chikorita, Bayleaf, Meganium, nope. Not until Pokemon GO PvP. Just never looked their way.
It just took you a while to be able to understand its prowess. So it took you a while, but you finally got there.
Yeah, it took what? Half-second turns and 100 energy. And even then, it's a good grass type, but there's still grass types that you could use that are better, that serve a better purpose than it.
But none of those helped you win a regional.
So obviously you're familiar with the Pokemon franchise. So what stuff would you like to see taken from Pokemon battle scene and put into PvP?
One of my favorite types, like ground types are my favorite types of Pokemon, but I also really love electric types. And I think for like the electric type Pokemon in PvP, most of them getting Wild Charge or Thunderbolt is like a nice trade-off, but they're like the type that always gets forgotten because most of the electric types are really fast in the main series game. So it's like you're trying to translate that over into PvP. And it's like, okay, well, in order to do that, they either have to have Thunder Shock or Bolt Switch as a fast move, and then Wild Charge or Thunderbolt as like their charge move. Yeah, Zap Cannon's good, but the best Zap Cannon user is a Steel type in PvP. But like electric types, I think in PvP could use, I wouldn't say a buff, but just there has to be something that can be done to make them a little bit more prevalent. So I think like electric types, and to a lesser extent, probably fire and bug types get like the short end of the stick for PvP. I think because some of their charge moves activate so quickly, that's like Niantic and Pokemon Go trying to say, okay, but we're giving them quicker access to all the charge moves. And it's like, all right, that's cool, but they kind of need something a little extra. I like how with Ampharos they did give it another quick charge move in Brutal Swing, which kind of helps against some of the grasses, in particular Trevenant. But at the same time, it's like Thunder Punch, I guess that's like a good move for it because it is the quickest charge move of the electric type moves it can learn. But just Thunder Punch, Fire Punch, and Ice Punch to me have always looked like moves that could be buffed. And I get why you can't really buff Ice Punch because then Metacham's going to abuse it and then everybody's going to get outraged. Be like, oh no, we got to stop Metacham. And it's like, well, in order to stop that, they're probably going to do something that's going to make one of the other big five like crazy strong for no real reason. So let's just kind of roll with this. I feel like we can all live with Metacham having a powered up Ice Punch if that means, for example, Primeape, who has a sky high attack but also has access to Ice Punch, can do something with it. Or Galarian Mr. Mime can do something with Ice Punch. Or Jinx, who rarely sees any love anywhere in Pokemon, gets some type of buff to it.
So since we're on the topic of diversifying the meta, we've been going through the regionals that have been taking place. And usually it's been around a lot of the same Pokemon we've been seeing. In your opinion, do you feel a meta is better when it's the same Pokemon or when there's more Pokemon to choose from?
Okay, so I want to start by saying to everybody that thinks that this meta for the Pokemon regionals is stale and needs more diversity, I do agree with you, but I also just want to point out Gen 6 Big 6. If you don't know about that, go talk to a VGC player and they'll tell you about it. And it's like, hey, our meta is not really that diverse, but it's so much more fluid than that meta. If Pokemon GO PvP ever gets to a meta where it's just the same 6 Pokemon over and over again, and even if you bring something to counter that, no, it's not going to work, then we got a problem. I can understand the frustration between seeing Metacham, Galarian Stunfisk, Trevenant. I can understand the frustration between seeing all that, but like you can still play around that. But like in PvP, there's always going to be like some loophole you can exploit. Like the cores are there to be broken. And I think as a PvP community, you got to like try to find it.
So you are part of a Dubs for Cheap Factions. And I want to know, how did that first start?
So when factions were brought up, C-Dub reached out to me. He was trying to start up this server called The Underground. And he reached out to me and said, hey, you were pretty cool to battle. Seemed to have like some good conversations while we were battling. I want you to be like a part of this server and also be an admin. Now, I'm a lurker in Discord servers. Like, you don't see me talk much. I'll pop up every once in a while to be like, hey, I'm alive, and then go right back to hiding.
I was going to say, are you like Randy Orton with the RKO?
Pretty much, yeah. With hints of The Undertaker just lurking in the shadows. So it's like, he hit me up about that. We brought up the underground server to what it is now. And that's really more so him than it is me. I'm just there to be the dark eye watching everything. And if I see something pop off that really needs an attention, I'll say something. But we start up the underground server. Then factions starts happening. It starts becoming a thing. At first, I thought I was going to be a part of Ohio Nation because, like, all Ohio team. And I'm like, okay, well, it'd be cool. But then I'm also thinking to myself, I'm in the Ohio Nation server. Some of our best battlers don't want to return. And I'm thinking to myself, like, as much as I would like to be on this team, I also kind of want to compete and beat you guys as well. Faction startup, and C-Dub reaches out to me and says, hey, I want to start a faction for the underground called Dubs for Cheap. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm on board. You're the first person to reach out to me. You get my services. As we're building up the team, we're like, okay, well, who else do we want to put on the team? And we're thinking we want some like really strong trainers. And I'm like, well, if we're going to be an underground server, like we could probably pick up some people that we know that we battled against in the underground and make that work as long as we possibly can. So it's like we built up this whole team for people in the underground that we battled with each other. And it was like, all right, well, this is what we're going to work with. We're going to go out here and try to make a name for ourselves. First preseason cycle, we go 3-2. We win our first 3 and then lose our next 2. Second preseason cycle, we win our first 2, lose our next 3. So now we're like, okay, well, we're 5-5. And we're thinking when tiers announced, like, oh, okay, 5-5, we're good enough to start off in bronze. Nope, we start in open. And we were kind of irked about that because we saw at the start of it, Team Flareon started in bronze and we remember playing them and we remember beating them down. So it's kind of like, wait, they shouldn't be in bronze. We should be in bronze.
You feel like you were forgotten about, basically, or looked over?
I don't think it was looked over. It was just, this is the part where you realize just exactly how much scoring in factions mattered. And that's when we were like, okay, we can't play around with some of our opponents anymore. If we're better than them, we got to stomp them out. So now we're carrying that burden along. We feel like we're being disrespected by like some of the teams in bronze that got there that aren't doing well. So now we're like, okay, now we're just going to win out and get to bronze. And once we get to bronze, we're going to win bronze. And then everything that happens after that is gravy. So we went out and open. We go 6-1. We get to bronze and we start off 2-2. We develop some more rivalries, but we're all huddled together, still thinking we can still get out of bronze. But most importantly, we can still beat Texas PvP. So then bout 6 comes along. We're in 5th place at the time, and Texas PvP is 2nd. If we win, we're swapping places with them. If we lose, we're probably getting relegated. So again, comes down 9-9. DJ's last one to battle, and he gets his revenge this time around. He gets the 3-0, and it helps us get promoted to silver. And since then, we've been well in silver. We won that tier. We got to platinum, did okay, had a little bit of a struggle mid-cycle. So it's like, all right, well, now we're down in gold. Some members have moved on to start up a new faction called Sub-Zero. C-Dub is now with Wing Attack, but he still sticks around to help us out. We still have some of the core members from that original Dubs Sheep on the squad, but we're looking to still improve and add more players that want to hop on if they feel like it.
What is it about factions that's enhanced your experience for PvP?
The team setting. In some cases, when it comes to like the PvP side of things, in the regular setting, in a regular tournament setting, you're just thinking by yourself. You're probably thinking, okay, well, I got this. I know how I want to play with this Pokemon. I know how I want to play with this Pokemon. I will play it this way. In factions, you got like 6 to 9 other different people commenting, scrimming with you, being like, oh, hey, I know you like to use this Pokemon, but how about you sub it out for this Pokemon? It'll do you a lot better. Or in most cases, I'm the person on the team where I come up with crazy move sets. And I know like on my team, I'm the one that does it. And like, it's a joke every once in a while where it's like, yeah, if you got a problem with moveset, just go talk to MJ. He'll come up with something crazy that sounds stupid, but then ends up working. But like in factions, you just have this team building exercise to where if you think a Pokemon's not going to work, you take it to the team and be like, hey, I know this Pokemon is meta, but I don't think it's going to work for my team, or I don't think it's going to work for my playstyle. And it's like, okay, I can see why you think it wouldn't work. But like if you've been losing without using this Pokemon, let's go ahead and try to learn how to use this Pokemon. So like for factions, having the different brain power and like ideas floating around, that helps it makes it different from regular PvP tournament style setting where it's just yourself and you're stuck on a move set.
So obviously you write for factions, you write the weekly analysis of how the matches went. How did that first start for you?
So when factions first started, it was a fun experience. And then like, I want to say around week 2 of the preseason, seeing all the big names get attention. You know, you got Stadium Elite, you got some great battlers on Chicago. Marylanders was starting to get like worldwide known, and SoCal Swablu. It was like, okay, they're cool. I like them. They've like destroyed me on occasion. Some of them I've destroyed back. all right, I like seeing how you guys play when you play each other. But there's also some other teams down here. There's also some players on some other teams where they could probably use some love too. And on top of that, it was during the time when I'm like, everybody seems to want to be treated like a sports star. Everybody wants to be treated like a celebrity. Everybody wants to be like these athletes. It's like, okay, well, since people think that, let me see how this goes in Pokemon, where now I can highlight you and give you some love. So, like, I think the match that made me think about this was Stadium Elite versus Who's Your Daddies. And I remember seeing that and I was like, everybody on Stadium Elite's good. So I was like, okay, well, I know how some of these guys are. It'll be a good test for Stadium Elite to see like if they can stomp out some above average to really good talent. And it'd be good for Who's Your Daddies if like they can at least dent the aura of Stadium Elite. So like, okay, that would be a good match to talk about. So then I like go through the list. I remember making a tweet about it and I was just passive. I was like being the one thing I absolutely hate, being passive aggressive. I was like, you know what? Somebody should write about or make this into a sports thing. It's like we already got the team aspect of it. Somebody should do this. That's just me trying to put the idea out there, pass off the buck and be like, hey, somebody do this. That tweet gained so much traction to where people were like, hey, well, that sounds like a good idea. That sounds like something you should do. That sounds like something you should do. And I'm sitting here like, somebody can take this and run with it. Somebody, not me. Somebody, not me. Somebody, not me. Nobody was taking the bait. So I was like, you know what? Growing up in school, I hated writing. Not so much that I wasn't good at it. It's just I was a math person. I didn't want to explain myself. I hated the detail in explaining. I'd always get good grades in writing. It'd just be like last minute stuff. So like the first article, not even the first article, the first like write-up I ever did, I posted on Silph Arena page. I was like, okay, well, here's the battles I think will be cool to watch. Here's some upsets that are worth going at. And early on, I'd always pick on like the big name teams or like the higher up undefeated teams and be like, hey, you're on upset alert. This will be fun to watch. Let's see how you do. And somebody would say like, oh, I think you could be upset. And that then led to a little rivalry with me and SoCal Swablu Gold because they were usually the ones I always said got the upset alerts. Then like Silph reached out to me and was like, hey, we want to add this to our website. We can do something with this. I'm like, okay, cool. I can do something for you guys like every week on this. And then that just ballooned into like the EMEA, APAC, and Latin America all wanting to be like, hey, North America got this. Why can't we have this? So like, okay. So now they have their thing and it's just grown into something a lot bigger there to where I'm still kind of stunned that it got that big. But then I'm cocky and arrogant as all get out. I say this to people and people don't think I'm serious when I say this. I take insults and criticism a lot better than I take compliments. You insult me, I got jokes, or I might have like something to come off the top rope with you. You want to criticize me? All right, cool. I'll look at it objectively and be like, all right, maybe I need to do this or maybe I need to do this. And then if I feel like the criticism is bullshit, I'll say it's bullshit and keep pushing. But the compliments, be like, oh man, I love your writing so much. We look forward to seeing it. I'm like, thank you.
It's like, can you hate me? I'm trying to make you hate me.
Like, I don't mind you liking me, but just know me personally, compliments have never worked out for me. Is like people will compliment, like if I wear something nice, they'll be like, oh, you look nice. First words out of my mouth, like, have you seen me? I know I look good. This is me stepping out. Then I got to remind myself, like most people don't know me. I'm like, oh, wait. Yeah, okay. Thank you. But yeah, it started with just me trying to make it like more sportsy, put a little more sports spin onto it, highlight some lesser known battlers who probably won't get the attention that like the bigger ups will, the ones that are doing well. Like I remember all throughout season 1 of North America Factions, Al Murphy, who was Space Coast Battlers and then ended up being on the Orlando faction, he had an astounding winning record. Like, it was so good that I didn't notice it until cycle 2. And I was like, okay, let me keep an eye on this. I'm not going to say anything about it because, like, that's happening in qualifiers and open. So, like, okay, it's not as impressive as, say, Jay's fan winning 85% of his battles in Platinum tier. But at the same time, I'm pretty sure there's a faction higher up than Space Coast Battlers that would love to have a guy who's batting 90% winning average on their team. I kind of want to highlight some of the lesser knowns or some of the people who are really good, just haven't gotten that notice to the point where now I think some of the lower factions are having a problem like, oh, all the big name factions are stealing our players. They're poaching our players. I'm like, that's kind of the price of success sometimes. If you're not doing well and that person wants another challenge, I can kind of understand them wanting to go to a higher tier to see how good they are.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you see it all the time in sports leagues. You saw it all the time, like when LeBron left for Miami Heat, and he got all the criticism. You saw it when Kevin Garnett left the T-Wolves because they couldn't get a championship around him. Like, that's pretty common in sports.
Yeah, and then sometimes it's also like just, you can plateau and you have to know when you've plateaued on a team. It's all kind of starting to become more sports-like, to where some of the best battlers on bad teams are moving up to like some good to very good teams to test their mettle, probably just use for a cycle and then go back, or become like a higher gun like Trent is for everybody.
Do you take any inspiration like from sports writers at all? Because when I read your stuff, it does sound like I'm reading something from like ESPN almost.
Most of that is me. Like, it's just me putting some personality into it. But however, I do. Bomani Jones is one of the people, like, I started listening to him around 2011, 2012. Because since I was 14, I've been the on again, off again janitor. But between the years of 2010 and 2018, I was full-time janitor, start at probably 4 o'clock in the afternoon, be done at 7 o'clock in the morning. I'd always try to have some sports radio on, listening to it. So like Bomani Jones is one that I really gravitated to. Black guy talking on TV and talking on radio that's not Stephen A. Smith. So it's like, okay, I can deal with this. And then on top of that, he throws some of his personality into it. He kind of lets you feel like you know him if you get to listen to him some more, while also like using his smarts to like navigate some of the tricky stuff in sports, to where he can talk about it. And like, if you get offended by it, you're probably not listening right, or you're probably listening with your own biases. So like, I took some of what he does, and I want to say a little bit of Shannon Sharp as well, throw that in there. Like, that's more so when it comes time to make predictions, or if I got to talk about a team and put some like personality behind it to keep people invested. It's like, all right, cool. Then just amplify my personality on top of that. Like, I'm relatively quiet-ish, but if you get me talking, you can't get me to shut up at times. It's like I'm trying to add all that while making it my own. But those two in particular, like two people I take like some inspiration from. And then Ta-Nehisi Coates, every once in a while, I'll dip a little bit of that in there. I take all like the knowledge and the verbiage that I've learned and try to like make it to where you can understand and you can feel me while I'm writing about this, but you also know exactly what I'm doing.
You've been following Factions for so long, and a lot of people hope that Factions becomes an esport someday. From your standpoint, with you covering Factions for so long, what are some barriers do you see that Factions has to overcome to get to that point?
So I went on another podcast. We had this conversation about open tier and like how usually around week 5 or 6, somebody from the North American open tier always complained about how, oh, is there some way we could fix the system? Is there some way where we could like make the matchups easier to digest? Because this isn't working. This isn't fair that like an undefeated team doesn't have to play all the top ranked teams. Every time I see that, I kind of look who says it. And it's like, if it's one of the factions who's like currently sitting at number 3 or 4, I brush it off. I'm like, okay, like all y'all gotta do is keep winning, and this means nothing to you in the future. If it's one of the factions that's like usually 2 and 7 or 3 and 6, I look at that and I go, shut up. You don't know anything about what's happening. And all credit to everybody on the Silph referee staff, Silph management staff that handles all those questions and complaints. I just look at them and I go, because you're so deep into North America stuff, like you don't realize that this is a global thing. You're complaining about matchups in like North America's open, plus EMEA's open, plus APAC's open. Put all those teams together, and that still doesn't equal the amount of open teams that are in Latin America. You're complaining about something that you don't like in this system for this conference. Like maybe the system's not made for this particular conference. Maybe the system is made so that Latin America has it easier for them. Because if it's easier for the largest conference than all the other smaller conferences, like it should fall in line real simple. It's not that hard to digest. On the flip side of that, I think that is where, if we want to make it an esport, like a true esport to where sponsors are getting involved, because I know Latin America has like 7-Eleven sometimes backing them, and they have different tourneos happening outside of Silph Factions. So it's like they got their own thing happening, but at the same time, so many different teams over there to the point where it's like they have to do that. Latin America, they're cannibalizing each other. I think the number 1 seed was an APAC team. Number 2 was EMEA. I think number 3, 5, 6, and 7 were all Latin American teams. And it's not that like, oh, they're top heavy. No, they're all cannibalizing each other. So like the esports thing on the faction side of it, yeah, it's feasible, but at the same time, each region has its own issues. I feel like if you want to make it an esport, you got to like figure out how you want to do it with first Latin America, then APAC, and then however you figure it out with those two, make North America and EMEA the guinea pigs.
Hey, that'd be a fresher for once. Australia is always the one who gets to be guinea pig in Pokemon Go.
Yeah, like look, give Australia, Japan, give all of them a break for being the guinea pigs. Like make North America and EMEA the guinea pigs because they're going to complain regardless.
So one thing that you've mentioned is that the Pokemon Go community can't really handle a Black content creator. Do you feel that you have to kind of come across a certain way to the Pokemon Go audience?
Yes. So when I say that the Pokemon Go community can't handle a Black content creator, it all stems back to, I'll go with my experience first, and then I'll tap into something that happened earlier this year that really agitated the ever-loving fuck out of me. So like with me and how I come in and write about different people, different factions, I'll put my spin on it. I'll put a sports take on it. And sometimes it's like, okay, I know this might ruffle some feathers, and it's like, all right, cool. You're ruffled. You want to prove me wrong. You want to put me up as bulletin board material. I'm perfectly fine with that. This is something that you can't do and be like, oh, please love what I write. Please love me. Like, no, I'm going to ruffle some feathers. So like, if I'm saying something like, okay, SoCal Swablu goes on upset alert, like earlier when this all started, R6 racing R6, he would go back and forth with me and I loved it. People would see that and be like, hey, you need to calm down, R6. Like, he's just doing what his job. I'm like, hold on, whoa. I'm fine with this. I grew up trash talking. This is in my element. I'm with this. I can do this. Like, that's all in good fun. I can understand. I can see like where the goodness of all that's happening is fine. And this is kind of noticeable with Pokemon Go community, which is why I say I don't think they can handle a Black content creator, is in Pokemon in general. We'll stick with America, for example, just America for right now. A lot of white people play it, and video games, you usually see like a lot of Asian, Asian, like Pacific Islander. You turn on Twitch and you see it's like basically a lot of white, a lot of beige. And then like outside of that content, you'll see different tier lists pop up or people making jokes and then like all this other insider speak that like gets out. And it's like, okay, that's cool. I'm down with that too. But I'm also just looking around like, if we're talking about OG Twitch Pokemon Go players, she might not be doing it anymore. But why is Yo Is Me Mofo not getting mentioned at all? Like, her Sunday brunches every week during COVID was actually one of the few things that got me through like the COVID week sometimes. It'll be like, hey, I'm stuck in the house. Don't really feel like watching TV. Don't want to turn on YouTube again and rewatch the same old Dragon Ball DBZA stuff because I'm starting to learn all that word for word at this point in time. Let me turn on Twitch. Everybody's on there battling, talking. Oh, okay, cool. There's Yo Is Me Mofo making brunch, talking it up, chatting it up. Later on in the night, you'll have DJ Enterprise on there. He'll have his setup going where he has some music playing in the background. The setup's all nice. But it'd be like, and this is going back to something that happened earlier this year, Trainer Rim made a tier list. And me personally, I'm like, okay, all the tier lists that have been done, all like the stuff that gets taken out of context that's been done before, like he made a tier list and you're looking at it and it's like, okay, he has some trainers in Dogwater, he has some trainers up here, he has this, that. Okay, cool. If you know him, he's been around long enough that everybody knows who he is as a streamer. You should know that he's not saying this like from a hateful place. You should know he's not saying this from a personal attack place. He's trying to have fun because he saw that other streamers, other like more so white streamers were able to do this, but like everybody was able to laugh, ha ha, yuck it up. So then he does it and all of a sudden it's like, oh no, that was rude, that was wrong, it looked bad, the optics are bad on it. And I'm like, but this is Rim. He's one of the nicest ones in the entire community. And there was like so much backlash that I'm like, all right, all of you who have a problem with it, and it's like, okay, if you were one of the ones who were offended by it, I can understand. At the same time, he's going along with the trend. So like everybody was mad at him. It like got him to stop streaming for a while. He has released some like apology video. And not even a week after that happened, Twitch tier list. This is Dogwater. This is like, oh wait, hold on. But you guys just got on him about this. Now all of a sudden we want to make jokes about this? Seems like there's a little bit of a disconnect there. And like from a Black side of things, Pokemon Go can be an escape, but like as a Black person in general, nothing is really an escape in America. We can try to make it be an escape as much as we can, but we can't run from that fact. Like, nope, nothing is ever truly an escape. When it comes to criticizing, and I'll take all the heat on this one, you can criticize like what it is that I say, you can criticize what it is that I talk about, but like the whole reason why I started the whole anonymous question asking was because in some of the questions that I get asked or some of the comments that I get asked in that stuff, oh dear God, I can see why anonymous question asking is a thing, because like you think people don't know who it is. So it's like I've gotten things in the inbox where it's like, hey nigger, you can't say all this, or like, what do you know? Like, this is why there's not that many black people in it, because you guys aren't smart enough to do this. I put the anonymous things out there, and this is where you find out this is how some of these people really feel. And again, if some other black content creators want to come out here and say this, that's cool. But like even behind closed doors, we have conversations where it's like, it feels like everybody partners up with other content creators. But I'm always like, well, hey, why ain't nobody reaching out to Rem to do this? Or why isn't nobody reaching out to Reezy? Anybody who got a problem with what it is that I'm saying right now, come find me. We can talk this out. And then if we ever meet in person, we can sit down and talk about this. Because I always keep in mind, like anybody who ever had a problem with me or anybody who has something that they really want to say negative to me, if we meet in person, I'm going to be around you. I'm going to keep looking at you. It's just like a little bit of a bubbling frustration. It's like, hey, I don't want to reopen this can of worms, but something else that happened for Roe versus Wade, when that got overturned, there was this Twitch stream that happened where it was like Reezy was one of the featured battlers. I know he has a wife and he has like a couple kids. They had some other stuff they could have been doing that day, but Reezy was like, no, I'm going to stick around and do this because they had me a featured battler. I could be on at any time. The whole stream happened. He wasn't featured once. And at first you're thinking, oh, it's no big deal. You could think it's no big deal, but then it's like, Reezy's a teacher. Like, you don't know how many kids could actually be tuning in just to watch him. He feels a little bit upset because it's like he wasn't on. He's like, hey, this did kind of feel a little bit shady, a little bit tokenism. And like the immediate backlash that came towards him, like, hey, this is bigger than you. This is about all these people. And I'm like, I think you guys are missing the point of what he's saying. He's not discrediting what the point of the stream was. It was just more so he's the only black face on the poster. Now, shout out to Inhofe and Final Boss AJ. They completely understood what Reezy was saying. They was like, okay, we get how that might have looked. They was all on board with it. But then it kind of like blew up into something where like some of the black Pokemon GO players was like, yeah, this feels like tokenism, and we weren't really on board with that. And it was like,
it felt like it was a marketing tool, really, it sounds like.
Yeah. It's like at times for me, when people ask me if I can come on and do stuff, like this, some of the thought process that goes to my head is like, okay, how are you going to market this? What exactly are you trying to do here? If I tell you I can't come on, if I tell you I can't do this, how do you react afterwards? Because I always kind of pay attention to those who like, they ask me to do something and like, because of life or work, I can't do it. And I say, hey, no, just can't do it. Sorry, but keep me in mind. I always keep an eye on those who ask me that, and then I tell them no the first time, and then I watch how they react afterwards. It's like, okay, so you genuinely want me to come on, or you're just trying to use my name to big up your name?
Right. Like, are you really interested in me on coming on the show to create something, or are you just using me to kind of gain another audience and just use me for whatever have you?
Right. It's like that. It's that stuff in general where it's like, yeah. And I know there's not that many of us. Like, first off, there's not that many of us that are good. The black PvP players that are good. Like, I can name all the good ones, like the really good ones, probably with one, maybe two hands. Then you have Rem, who's a lot better than I think he gives himself credit for. Like, top 8 at NAIC is nothing to sneeze at. Like, I feel like if he ever went hard at Silph, he'd be a high-ranking elite. Reezy out here making the Alolan Sandshrew popular as all get out. And then, of course, back to some of the OGs like DJ Enterprise on Twitch, Yo's Me Mofo. So it's just kind of like, when I say Pokemon GO can't handle a black content creator, it's a mixture of all the different experiences that I've seen, all the ones that I've heard, all the ones that I've talked about with other black content creators, and just my own experience too, where it's like, oh, you guys wouldn't do this to some other people, but you'd gladly do it to us.
I'm going to leave it with this question. How can the Pokemon GO community be more welcoming to black content creators moving forward? Besides, I mean, I would imagine one of them would be like not being a marketing display would be a huge improvement.
Best way for me to put it, we all love Pokemon. While we want to be involved in some of this stuff, it shouldn't be on us to come out here all the time looking for somebody to like partner with us, or somebody to do stuff with us, or somebody to like have us on stream and whatnot. It's in the same vein of racism's a problem, but you can't be out here asking black people to be the one to fix it. We're the ones affected by it. And I know I just turned a lot of people off there, but oh well, get used to it. We're out here. We want to be a part of it. We want to be seen. But like, if we can't do it, don't take it as an offense. Like, oh, hey, we just don't want to do it. Like sometimes shit just pops up where we can't do it. Or me personally is like, hey, I know a lot of people reaching out to me for faction stuff. I'll help you with whatever it is you want to do factions wise. But like, if I can't do it, I can't do it. And I know there's some out here like watching Skeptical Tracer on stream. I didn't know he was black. Like me, Reezy, Rem, a couple others, like we all got to talking like, yo, did you know he was black? Nah, I didn't know he was black. Cool, he made it top 8. We're here for you. We're repping you. Like, trust and believe we're all rooting for you. Like, we just have this sense of community. It was like, okay, cool. There's more of us popping up. And we just kind of want to be like, just, hey, like, let us come in. Like, we can probably make it a little more cooler because, you know, at least in America, if it has black people behind it, it's going to get cool. So, like, just, like, accept it. Run with it. And if you think I'm lying, cool. Tell me how baseball's doing outside of playoff time.
Oh, MJ, you've been such a joy today.
Like at the end of the day, I'm always here for jokes. I'm always here for fun. Even when I get heated, I'm just here to have a good time. And like, it was just a lot of shit that I was getting hit with. And then like seeing it happen to the others, like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna put a voice to it. I'm going to be the one to like take this on headstrong. If no one has a problem with it, be cool with us. We really just want to come in and have fun. Some of us want to collab with you, but like things happen. Just treat it like everybody else in a way.
Just make sure y'all are included and make sure that we don't hinder how y'all are included. I think that's probably the biggest takeaway with everything you said so far.
Pretty much. And it's like, we say out loud that, hey, this didn't look right. Like, hey, it didn't look right. Just listen to what it is that we got to say. We're not saying that you're wrong. We're not saying that you're racist for it. We're just saying, hey, it just wasn't look right.
Thank you for listening to As the Pokéball Turns, where every trainer has a story. If this episode resonated with you, share this episode with a fellow trainer and follow the podcast for more voices, more journeys, and more memories. I'm David Hernandez, and remember, your next Pokemon adventure begins here.